Well, he did it. He actually did it. Burton Cummings, formerly of the Guess Who, it has been confirmed to me, has indeed pulled his music from BMI. The PRO is no longer handling the issuance of performance licenses or the collecting of royalties on his behalf. And I'm going to go into what this could mean, as well as how we got here, because I do think it's important to point out that there are multiple parties at play that allowed this scenario to kind of play out, part of which is a role that we as music consumers have played, and I think will actually continue to play in terms of how the story evolves. So stick around as I go into this. But first, I want to lay out the timeline, what I consider to be the real core timeline at the heart of everything that's going on here, because in 1958, a guy by the name of Chad Allen would form a band, and we'll just, there's not much more to say beyond that. But by 1962, the lineup of that band would actually contain Randy Bachman, Gary Peterson, Jim Cale, Bob Ashley, along with Chad Allen. And this is where I want to kind of pause for a moment and go back and make an amend to a comment that I've made on previous posts, which is that the Guess Who has never really been known as a vocal band, a harmony band, a band where 3-4-part harmonies are a critical part of their sound. And I still hold to that, but the reality is, if you go back to those first couple albums that they put out, there's actually a ton of great harmonies on them.
Don't be scared, I'll be there if you need me.
So in those early years, they would perform under the names Chad Allen and the Reflections, Chad Allen and the Expressions, before eventually becoming Guess Who. And it would be 1966, the third album, It's Time, in which we would finally see Burton Cummings make his first appearance. He would play keyboards, backing vocals. He would sing lead vocals on a few songs. He would actually write one of the songs. But for many fans, it would be 1969's Wheatfield Soul when the true classic era of the Guess Who would begin. And that would last till about 1975, when Burton Cummings would leave the band to go pursue a solo career. And this is where fans who are in support of this action would say, well, see, it was the period in which Burton Cummings was in the band. It was his voice, his songwriting that correlates to the band's greatest period of success. So therefore, he is the secret sauce and he should be allowed to do what he wants to do. I don't know. Maybe he was the secret sauce. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I struggle with the argument for a couple reasons. One, that was also the period in which Jack Richardson was the band's producer, and a producer has a huge impact on the success of a song or an album. I mean, just look at bands in which Mutt Lange has worked with pre and post his involvement. We could also talk about songs like Fleetwood Mac's The Chain, Joe Walsh's Life's Been Good, where those songs are not the product of the songwriter, but the product of a very crafty engineer and producer and their ability to cut and tape together bits and pieces from multiple songs to create a final product. Additionally, I can look at Burton's solo career and say, well, if he was the secret sauce, then why was his solo career so lackluster compared to his time with the Guess Who? And you might go, well, Dean, that's not fair. Burton wrote great music during his solo career. He's got a great voice. You can't blame that on him. He didn't have a great producer, and he didn't have the support of a record label. And I'd say, exactly. That's my point. The Guess Who's period of success that you want to, kind of point to also correlates to the period of time where they had RCA Records behind them. So how do we know that it wasn't RCA's marketing and promotion push that helped them achieve that mainstream success? The point being, it's not fair to blame one person for the failures of an album or a song any more than it's right to give all accolades to one person. To do that negates the contribution of a shit ton of people. So does this mean that the Guess Who can't perform classic hits like American Woman or These Eyes? No, technically they can perform them. The problem is that promoters and venues may not book and schedule them if they feel like they can't get a performance license because they don't want to get sued. And this is when it starts to become really dangerous ground. Now you might go, well, yeah, but Dean, wasn't Burton getting paid from these concerts? Yeah. From everything I've been able to gather, these concerts have actually been a very significant source of royalty revenue for Burton. And you might go, well, then why would he do that? Why would he cut off his own source of revenue? Great question. I can't speak to that definitively, but I do know that he is suing Gary Peterson and the band. And I have to imagine that the revenue from these concerts were in large part being used to fund the lawsuits, the defense of the lawsuits, and now those funds are gone. So if you're a legal strategist, this may have been a brilliant move. Sue them and then cut off their ability to finance a defense. And if that's the case, it does set a very interesting precedence, because what happens if Pete Willis decides that he no longer wants Def Leppard to play the songs that he wrote? Or maybe this is given Little River Band co-founder, guitarist, vocalist, primary songwriter Graham Goebel the game plan necessary to get some leverage over the current active lineup. Now, I do want to make it clear, I don't support this strategy. I don't like it. I think it hurts a lot of people. I think it injects weakness and uncertainty into an already fragile, and in my opinion, broken system. And it weakens, if not outright destroys, a legacy. And in reflecting on it, I had to come to the realization that I, as a music consumer, play a part in this. Think about this. Once a band is labeled classic rock, they are shackled with a burden that no other artist or band has to deal with. Because not only do they have to compete with a legacy, they actually have to compete with that legacy in an industry designed to celebrate and promote that history, that legacy. Classic rock plays the hits. Concert promoters sell tickets by selling nostalgia. We as consumers, we live in our memories. I live in my memories. That's why I love music. It's like a time machine. It takes you back in time. But one of the things it does, it also causes us to stop looking at a band based off of what they can contribute today and in the future, and they're only measured by what they did in the past. We kind of lose sight that just because a band has a history doesn't mean they can't have a future. Unless, of course, you're Burton Cummings, in which case the Guess Who is not allowed to have a future unless he's part of it. And according to an article that he posted on his Facebook page, he makes it very clear that he's willing to go nuclear and essentially destroy the band at the risk of giving up his royalties. But it's not just his royalties that I'm curious about. I mean, how does he make sure that other people also don't lose their royalties, like Randy Bachman, Gary Peterson, Jim Cale, Bill Wallace, Kurt Winter's estate, Greg Lescue, and many others? It just feels like that he's made the decision that if he doesn't get his way, nobody gets paid. So I share this because over the past couple of weeks, as I've been leading conversations online regarding classic bands out there performing with newer lineups, one of the common comments I've been getting is, well, if these bands are going to do this, then they should be recording and promoting new music, not just relying on the classic hits. Well, that's what you got here, is literally a band that's been putting out new music, and they want people to fall in love with the music. They want people to hear it. They want people to buy the ticket, so they're excited to come to the show and hear this new music, which, by the way, live is incredible, so that they don't have to rely on the classic hits. So for everybody that made that comment, here's your opportunity to step up and stand behind your words. And it's kind of interesting because this whole event has actually made it feel like there is no longer a classic Guess Who. It's just Burton Cummings' Guess Who. So with that being said, I'd like to borrow a phrase commonly associated with royalty. The king is dead. Long live the king. I'd like to introduce you to the Guess Who.
The words can fuel the fire. Pretty soon they'll turn to ash from his crown. I could remain all alone in the atmosphere, but I don't have a parachute. I'm falling faster than the speed of sound. Even the sun. You mean after all that I've done for you, what have you done for me? I'm looking to find out something, keep moving but standing still. Ooh, I keep searching for some in a place of calm, as far away, not a reach, and I guess there's nothing wrong. Free from all the things I see, from all the things, and I'm free from pandemon. Now we are love, love, love is the answer.
So here's a question for you. How many eras of mainstream success is a band allowed to have? And why do we as fans feel like we have the right to dictate that? Now, in this particular case, according to Burton Cummings, the Guess Who was allowed to have one era of success from 1969 to 1975. And if they try to be successful without him, then he's taking his football and going home. And this action is actually being celebrated by a number of his fans, which is it's interesting. And it's not isolated to just them. Fan mentality is an interesting thing because many times we're actually not fan of a band. We're fans of either a person, a song, or a memory attached to the song, because the moment the people or the song changes, we often turn our back to the very same band that we claim to love. And in this particular case, it ended up adding a very dark chapter to the legacy of a band.